This is PureLunacy. Last week I was a little bit busy. I had a great guest. Unfortunately, he's not available this week. I had a great topic I wanted to discuss with you guys, even if it would be solo. And then I read the news, and it's PureLunacy. A man arrested for a nonviolent crime gets a knee to the neck and passes away. A man walking in Central Park tells a woman to put a leash on her dog, and her reply is, after, verbal dispute or spat, she's going to call the police and notify them that an African-American man is threatening her. As she advances on him. This is PureLunacy. Sadly, the reality of our country and one of our greatest shames is racism and discrimination. It's affected all generations. It's affected all ethnic groups. If we go back to the beginning, we look at the Native American population. We can look at the Trail of Tears, for goodness sake. If we look at our Asian communities, we'll see that the Chinese were discriminated against when they were helping us build our railroads. The Japanese were discriminated against when World War II came around, and they were even put in internment camps. And today, we see again discrimination against our Chinese counterparts because of coronavirus. If we look at our history, we can look at the discrimination against immigrants throughout time. If we look at the European immigrants who came in the late 1800s, early 1900s, discrimination against the Polish, the Irish, the Italians. We fast forward, we'll look at discrimination and anti-Semitism against the Jewish community. If we look at our history and we see that discrimination against immigrants hasn't ended, we still see it against our Hispanic and Latino populations. If we look at our history, we'll see discrimination against our Black population, our Black Americans who have been discriminated since the inception of our country. Some founding fathers wanted all men to be created equal and free. Others did not. It didn't do well for their business, so they kept them enslaved. And yet again today, we're discussing racism and discrimination, our great American shame. It's PureLunacy. But I do believe in the dream. There once was a man with a dream, Martin Luther King Jr. And although it was a dream, we need to ensure that that dream does not become a nightmare. We need to keep talking about it. We need to continue this discourse. We need to continue to record. We need to continue to uphold justice for those who are affected by unjust measures. This is PureLunacy. In the face of adversity, in the face of racism and discrimination, in the face of generational discrimination and racism, regardless of your background, every generation in our country has dealt with racism and discrimination. Regardless of your background, and the myth that only people of color, every single entity or ethnicity in this country has faced racism at some point in time in our history. We need to recognize that this isn't a Black people, a brown people, a white people issue. This is an American issue. This is a cancer to the soul of our country. This is the reality. It was emotional reading that once again we're facing these issues and our Black community is having to once again read in the news. We just had Botham Jean. We just had Ahmaud Arbery, which was a modern day lynching, if we're going to be sincere. It's pure lunacy. But I do believe that as hard as it is to conquer this cancer, this societal cancer, that we can. Because it's pure lunacy. We may be planting a seed today and never get to see the shade of the tree we planted. But I'd prefer to plant the seed today and hope and water and plant again another seed and another seed, and just pray that the future generations know that we've done our part to fight against racism, to fight against discrimination, to fight against inequities. Because it's pure lunacy. Hopefully next week we can have further discussions. But for this week, I think that we all need to be introspective, and we need to talk about why we continue to have these issues. And how can we as a society combat it? Thanks, y'all.